Okay, we've got the what you just saw was the speed paint of the shot being put together. There were a couple times where I thought I was recording, but I wasn't. And so I wasn't able to include everything about the shot in the speed paint, but this is how the shot came out. So basically we're at this final step of saying, can we improve this by putting in some more or less digitally generated tweens? There's a couple ways we could do that. So the way we're going to get started, I mean, this is kind of one of the things that the plastic tool in OpenToons and the obviously the boning system in Blender are pretty good at. But what I want to do is see if we can just kind of keep this in Krita as much as possible. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to mute this layer and duplicate it, just so I've got a working copy. I already happen to have baked down the shadows into the character, so essentially this is flat. So let me click on that, make sure I've got a hold of it here. Okay, and I'll hit Control-Shift-Insert, which means that even if I click away from this layer, I'll still see it in the timeline. So now let's just see here. Okay, let's look at the pacing. Okay, maybe here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just move this back. I'm going to put this on, let's put it on 3s, although I may find that for this type of transition I'm going to do, it might be better to be on 2s, but we'll see. Alright, so what I'm going to do is, I think I've got this going in the right direction, so I want to be able to grab her hand. Okay, that's not quite what I'm after, but you guys can see what I'm doing here. Okay, so let's just see how that worked. Let's just see how it plays. It looks really good. So that transitional, the nice thing is that these little transitional keys can be, I mean, look at that. It speaks for itself. Okay, that's fine. Let's just see how this feels. Okay, yeah, that does not feel fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another tween on 3s here. And let's look at where we were at before. And I'm just going to try to do it the same way. I literally don't know how well this is going to work. We're going from this to this. So it looks to me like what really wants to happen is a couple things. Let me look at her body position. Okay, yeah, see, her body twists around. So this is probably going to be a little rougher than the other one, but I want to try to make these adjustments without necessarily what am I trying to say here? I think you guys know. I mean, her head doesn't need to move too much, so let's just go like this. What is more concerning to me, her shoulder. Actually, to tell you the truth, I really want to kind of tweak her shoulder down, tamp it down in this frame. Yeah, so here, remember, we're just trying to get this transitional place. So I would say, let's go ahead and stretch this out just a little bit. And I'm thinking maybe lift that up just a little bit. Okay. Okay, and I think we need to actually tamp this down a bit as well. Okay. So I'm gonna give myself a little bit of secondary motion right there. Actually, I went the wrong way. That really should be squished in. And this should be stretched that way. Okay, so now the only thing I'm going to say here is we probably want to shift her bosom a little bit. And that one looks a little bit large for my taste. She's not small, but she's not large. You know, she's just kind of medium size. So, okay, let's see how that feels. Okay, so now let's go along here. Here, I think that's still bothering me a bit, so let's just calm it down. And then, as long as we're fixated on her bosom, let's go ahead and, I wonder if there's a scaling. Let's try a scaling option. We'll put it in reverse mode. I just want to see. I know this sounds a little cheeseball here, but I wonder if we can actually calm down her endowments here just a little bit. Okay. Okay. Little bit that way. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. There we go. Okay. So now we're getting from this to this. This is probably a good candidate for a tween, and I would put this as a rotation, I think. That might have been a bit extreme. Let's do that a little bit less. And then let's take it over here. And let's add a little bit of a motion blur. That's exactly the right direction. Let's do a length of 8. Let's see how that feels. Okay, I think if I'm going to use motion blur, it's probably better to put this on 2s. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on 2s. Ah, shoot. Control drag. Okay. So now, this should be interesting too. I'm just going to actually slide this a little bit this way. Just a little bit. And then let's apply the motion blur again. I'm not worried about her mouth. Yeah, see, look at that. That looks really good. Okay, so I'm going to rewind and just kind of see how things are looking here. I can hit the tab key to go full screen mode. So this is our actual, if I hit N, this is the actual broadcast HD right here, 1280 by 720. I love it. I love it. I think it looks great. Okay, so yeah, this is a pretty pretty economical step. I'm going to add a tween here as well, which I may regret, but I can always delete it, right? So going back to here, I'm going to say that her head should squeeze a little bit this way, and this part of her head so what I'm doing is I'm creating some secondary animation. because it's only going to be on 2s, I'm going to go ahead and stretch some things a bit. Okay, and then I'm just going to redo the filter. Okay, so now for this transition, I actually think the cheeseball nature of an instant switch is, you know, sort of emphasizes the humor of it. So for me, I think that works. This one, not so sure. Let's go ahead and as long as we're doing this stuff, let's go ahead and have some fun with it. I think we need to switch this. Okay, so let's acknowledge by default, yeah. By default, the twisting is to the left. Okay, so I'm just saying that out loud now to remember it for my own enrichment. Let me see if doing a shear would be better. Ooh, that's interesting. That's interesting. That's really interesting. I like that. Holy cow, I didn't know I could do that. That's awesome. It's decidedly non-intuitive because you have to sort of move the mouse opposite to the direction you think. So I'm actually going, left is going up, right is going down, up is going right, down is going left. That's really weird. Okay, so if down is going... Oh my gosh, folks, I'm going to be using this a lot. What a great way to do tweens. My goodness. Okay, so I need to really make this bigger. So we can shift her a bit more. Okay, yeah. I did not mean to do that. And the thing is, okay, I have to just, I'm going to not reverse this because I just need to learn it. So left is up? No, left is down. Okay. Jeez. I wonder why. Let's just do it this way. Let's do it with a standard drag and see if I'm actually... You see, it does feel a little different, I must say. But it kind of naturally gives us the motion blur, so just from dragging things around. So let's see how that feels. That looks amazing. Oh boy, I'm definitely going to be adding these tweens a little more frequently. Okay, that is probably... See, I actually think this should be here. And then let's put a tween there. Yeah, and I believe this was originally done in this way, actually. Okay, let's do that. And then let's drag it around a little bit. And then, what is it? Control F. Apply the motion blur. I just want to see how that feels. Yeah, I mean... such an economical way to improve things. You know, it's just that you don't want to sit on it too long. You don't want to sit on these frames too long. Okay, so I'm going to let that one be a little more... I love it. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing here. And the way I'm going to do this one is I want to rotate to the right. So if you want to rotate to the right, you got to use... I know this looks crazy, but whoops. What I want to do here, is actually have a selection. And I want the selection, I really want the selection to be like super fuzzy. don't know if I can really do a fuzzy selection without getting into like masking and stuff. So that's fine. Let me hit the let me just, I know what we'll do. We'll grab all of this, hit Control F, and then we'll grab just this, hit it again, here, hit it again like a couple times. Okay, so we're sort of adding some incremental motion blur. And that feels pretty good to me. In fact, there's really nothing happening here that doesn't seem pretty much like a win in my book. Anything is, I feel like that was a little too much. But since we're doing it, let's just keep having fun and seeing if it turns out to be a win. Boom. Okay, and here I'm just going to go like this. We'll see how it feels. Okay. If it makes me laugh, I guess that's probably a good thing. And her mouth being actually dancing all over the place really doesn't matter. You're never going to be able to see that. At least I'm pretty sure. Okay. Okay, the only one I'm a little bit not digging is this one. This seems too exaggerated to me. So let's just drag it out and redo it. And what I'll do is I'll just slide everything a little bit more this way. And add a little bit of blur and just see if, yeah, that's fine. Okay, so here, this seems like a mess. Seems like too much. Let's just see what happens if we take this out. Yeah, it's better. That did it. Okay, there's one thing I just saw that I want to fix. Kyle, check this out. Oh, okay. See you later. No, never mind. Yeah, right there. Boom, 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 boom. I feel like she was just moving too much. I think what I'll do is, let's just try this. Let's try the motion blur thing and see if it just feels better. Nope, it doesn't feel better. It feels like trying to... Yeah, that looks fine. So that's interesting. So what we learn here is... Okay, I'm going to make a couple tweaks on her hair, but I want to acknowledge what's being learned here. First of all, when you add motion blur, it makes that, even though it's still just a slightly modified frame, 2 frames ahead, the motion or the action feels bigger, feels more exaggerated. So that's what the motion blur does for you. If you don't do the motion blur, it all feels actually just a little more natural. A little more invisible, actually. More of an invisible sort of tween. See that? That seems really invisible to me. Okay, I don't like her hair transition feels like it's almost like somebody's trying to put in too much squash and stretch. Yeah, that's better. So these transitions on 2s feel pretty good. Let's put one on 3s just to see what happens. No, it doesn't work. So if you're going to, especially if you're going to do the motion blur thing, you really need to be on 2s. Which is cool. I mean, this is sort of a stylistic choice I've been kind of enamored of for a long time. The idea of a hold followed by a fairly rapid transition to a new pose is, to me, a really good technique. Love that. Okay, see, now let's see if we can get a little crazy here. Right there. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something really crazy. I'm going to go like this, and on this one, I'm just going to do a ridiculous, exaggerated scale operation. Actually, yes, let's do it this way. Let's go in, then out. I need to copy this here, and this needs to not be reversed, and then I want to do this one eye at a time. Okay, why is it shrinking? I thought I clicked reverse. That's interesting. Okay, so I want to say that the way this behaves is not quite the way I thought it did. Okay. Let's put these like really close together. Let's see what happens. That's not bad. I need to, that's one of those things Valerie might put the kibosh on, like, oh, it's too much motion sort of thing. Okay, it made me laugh, so therefore I have to keep it. That's awesome. Okay. Da-da-da-da-na-na-na. Okay. Well, I think this has been a good proof of concept. Again, the powers that be may say this is too much motion, and for something like this, like for example, in the past, one thing I've been tempted to do is say on this shot where she's just talking, to sort of gratuitously just put in some movement just to put in some movement. And that, I agree, can go too far. But when you have a character that's actually going from here to there, these little bits of transition and motion blur, I think, are quite useful. Because it seems to me that I'm getting a lot of production value for a very low cost in terms of time. And so I like that because that means I can focus on what I do best, which is these keys and these poses. And I can feel sort of confident that these techniques will get me from pose A to pose B, sort of, if that makes sense. So I like that. I like bits of workflow that, you know, give you a big bang for your buck. But I would say this shot now is quite a lot better. Let's go back to here, and you can see what the previous version looked like. You see, so this choppy style is not, it's not bad, and for some situations it's very appropriate. But the only spot in this shot where I feel like it's really the best creative choice would be here, not here. I'm sorry. There. You know, that change to me makes a lot of sense to have it just be an instant, because it's comedic. I mean, the whole point is to make this funny, sporadic move. So by contrast, this part looks incredible to me. I'm really digging it. Okay, so file, save. So what we need to do is go to the render conversions folder. Let's resave this right now. And while that's happening, we'll come back over here, file, save, we'll create a new file in Blender. What that does is it closes all the video files that were open in this edit, so that once I go to dump the new version of it, which I'm about to do, I'm going to turn this into an MJPEG AVI, and then just dump it into the render folder. It replaces the old one, and now when I reopen the edit, the new version will be swapped in for the old. So this is how it all feels now, just going forward. This is the last shot I did this week, or over the weekend, I guess. And now here's the new shot. I like that. That looks pretty good. Okay, that's it for now. Wow, 26 minutes. So, gosh, I mentioned at the beginning of this video the speed paint or speed draw of this shot. Tell you what, folks, I'm going to upload this as a separate video. So let's watch it one more time and then call it a day. I love it. All right, that's it. There will be more later.